Hi, and welcome to the Kelley Kitley podcast, America's Social Worker Unfiltered, where every week we have hopeful, honest, and deeply human conversations. Today, my guest is Gabriela Zaragoza, and otherwise known as Queen Softball Mom in my cell phone. Um, and I am just so grateful that you are logging on tonight after a long day of work on a Monday, after we had a softball tournament all weekend. And I just want to tell the listeners how we met and the connection I had to you and why I wanted you to share your story for this episode. So, Gabby and I, our daughters play softball together, and
Yeah.
being on the field, a lot's going on. I think I asked you for sunscreen a couple times. We shared snacks a couple times.
Yeah, we're just going through the mix of it.
But it wasn't until regionals that I really got to know you. And, there's a lot of downtime, and we were sitting with some other moms, and somebody said, well, Gabby's a social worker too. And I said, no way. And then find out we went to the same college
Yes.
and, had some family line of addiction and
Mm-hmm.
dysfunctional dynamics. And I just was so enamored by your strength and your perseverance and what led you to become a social worker today. So I guess I want to turn it over to you and just tell us a little bit about your story. You have a beautiful daughter who is, as I was commenting yesterday, is so competitive. She was hitting triples all day yesterday and is
Yes.
a phenomenal pitcher. And I think that just speaks to the mother that you have been to her. So I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. Yes, it's funny. I was just telling one of my friends, and I'm like, yeah, me and Kelly probably knew each other for almost a full season. Yeah, and then at the end of the season, when we realized, hey, we're both social workers. We both
Uh-huh.
went to Jane Addams. Like, I thought it was too funny. But yes, a little bit about myself. I think I've always, like I was telling you before, I've always knew I wanted to like help people, but I
Mhm.
just didn't know what type of way. Like you mentioned, I do have family history of addiction in my family, substance use addiction. So that was like growing up with that and with other traumas and stuff like that. Definitely, it was like, okay, I want to do something in the helping range, right? But when I thought of therapy, I always thought of it being like you had to be a psychologist, right? It was just the couch, traditional couch, someone
Yes.
laying down. Didn't think much of it. And especially being Latina, like that's not something we talk about in our culture. Like everything's supposed to stay at home. What happens at home stays at home.
Yeah.
And like so I didn't really know too much about it. Like I knew they existed, but I didn't know a lot. Like I did do probably therapy in high school when my dad was kind of active, really big in his addiction.
Mhm.
That was probably like my first experience with it, but it was also weird because I was like, well, okay, why am I here? I don't want to talk to this stranger,
Why am I
right? Like it
talking to
was,
you? Like, get me out of
yeah,
here.
I
What
don't
do I
even
do?
remember what the like full transition was. Like my mom tried, she
Sure,
brought me, she
sure.
did her best and was like it just like that therapist was just not a good fit, which is why I'm a
Mhm.
big believer to tell people like shop around, like
Please.
make sure if you
Yes.
don't feel comfortable with your therapist, like it's okay. Like
Mhm.
it's kind of like dating in a sense.
Yes,
You have to make sure
absolutely.
you vibe with your therapist. But yeah, so I guess because of that, I knew I wanted to help people and I had my daughter young. So as you mentioned, I do have a 13 now, 13-year-old daughter. I did get pregnant my senior year. So as a teen mom, my pediatrician, Dr. Sheridan, she was amazing. She's in Florida now. But she referred me into Rush. So Rush has a really awesome program called the Fatty Family Adolescent Clinic where it's specifically more so for like teenagers, like adolescents and young adults that kind of get pregnant at a young age or
Mhm.
need like reproductive health like services
Sure.
by providers that understand and are it's a judgment-free zone. So one of the requirements there is if you're seeing a provider there I think I forgot how many, every certain amount of appointments you had to see the social worker.
Mhm.
So you had to see the social worker, and his name was Steve, and I always forget his last name, but he is the reason I'm a social worker today.
No way.
So I at that point I got pregnant my senior year. which was I have it's had it's my mom was a teen mom too. So it was always like a big thing where my mom was like, don't get pregnant, go pregnant. And things happen, life
Sure.
happens. I got pregnant. And so yeah, I started going to the seeing my gynecologist there, had to see the social worker. And at that point, I was a straight A student. I had pretty much everything going for me, and a little hiccup, got pregnant. So he was like, well, you kind of are on the right path. So tell me a little bit about what you want to study, because I was in the process of applying to college, and I was like, well, I know I want to do like therapy or something with helping with people, but I also don't want to go to school for that long. And now I have a baby
Mhm.
on the way. Can I really afford to be in school for that long?
Right.
So he actually told me more about social work, but when I was thinking social work, I thought it was like the DCFS, right?
Oh,
The ones
yeah.
that took your kids away, the
Mhm.
stigma that comes with
Sure.
social work, right? And he's like, no, it's like you could get your master's. You only have to do it 2 years. And I was like, 2 years? He's like, 2 years. He's like, and you could get a clinical license and you could do everything a psychologist does, basically.
Amazing. Yeah.
So I was like, hold on, what? Tell me more. And he's literally the reason today why I'm a social worker, because that
Oh,
brought me into doing it. But also shout out to the clinic for having me that very integrated care model, which is what I do today.
oh my gosh. And that's such a great resource for people.
Oh,
And
for
I will put
sure.
that in the show notes too for
Yeah, that
anybody who
was
wants to navigate that, needs to navigate that world.
they were
Um,
amazing. Like I did not feel judged. I like it didn't make me feel like, oh, you're this teenager, you don't know anything. They gave me options. They explained my options. They took what
they
I
did. So
wanted
they
into
they laid all your
consideration.
options out on the table.
Yeah, so they did.
Okay.
So
And was
they
that,
they don't do abortion there,
okay.
but they said we don't do it because I think there's maybe some religion component to it. I'm not really, don't quote me, I'm not really sure, but I
Sure.
remember
Sure, sure,
that
sure.
isn't, but they give you resources if that was
Got
the
it.
option you
Okay.
choose,
Okay. Oh my
which I really
gosh.
did appreciate. And even after I had my daughter, I still was able to go there. I think you could go there up until, I think the grant is like up until you're 25 is kind of like the cutoff. And then you have to transition into like traditional gynecology.
Sure. Sure.
But even then, like they're awesome. They're judgment free. They treat you like an adult, but also understanding that you're still a teenager.
Yeah,
But
right.
it was amazing.
So here you are. I mean, what month did you have PJ?
So I found out I was pregnant mid into my senior year. So I found out like right before Christmas, right before my 18th birthday. So I was about to be 18 because I'm a January baby. And I had PJ. I graduated in June and had PJ July. So and she's July 29th. And then thankfully, like I said, I had good grades. I did good in school and I had a full ride to UIC. So I went to UIC and
In
I
August.
started
In
in
August, by the
August,
way.
August
You-
like 19th, mid-August. So I had just popped
She
out
was
this
like eight
baby and
weeks
then was like,
old.
go to school. And that was hard. It was definitely hard. I don't think as a teen, you don't really understand all of that in a sense. Like you're leaving your baby and it was hard.
Mhm.
Thankfully, I had some family that was able to help me and I didn't have to like put her in daycare right away. But it was like, I think I would have definitely breastfed more or stuff like that if I knew
Sure,
like
sure.
supports that there was, or if there's a breastfeeding room in the
Ooh,
there, but they're not telling you that as a freshman orientation.
right. Right.
But but yes, I started right after I had her, weeks after, not even a full month
I
of going
mean,
to
it
class.
didn't even stop you. You just kept going. Like,
Yes, so that was something big for me because when I got pregnant, so I was top of my class. I was like ranked second and I was pretty well rounded. It was such a small school that I went to a charter school that I wouldn't say popular, but I was cool with everyone for the most
uh-huh.
part and teachers as well. But once I got pregnant, it was like all of a sudden these teachers was like, oh, like you just ruined your life. You just
Mhm.
like, oh, what are you gonna do now? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like I'm a straight A student. I'm top of my class. I have all these like acceptance letters in a sense. Like, yeah, of course, I'm probably not going to go out of the state anymore. Luckily, I was applying to local schools because I get homesick. So it was drivable. So
Uh-huh.
it could have possibly been done, but thankfully I had a full ride to UIC and that just made more sense at the time to stay with my support. But seeing my teachers kind of like the ones that I was really awesome with and when I would have least expected kind of give me that like, oh, well, you ruined your life. That
Mhm.
kind of really drove me to like, oh no, like, yeah, watch me
Right.
graduate.
That gave you more ammunition for
Yes. And I
sure.
remember, I think it was like the principal or vice principal at the time, I think she was a principal because we went through so many principals at the time, had made like a comment because we have like college signing day, and they
Mhm.
kind of do like a full, and it's really cool how they do it. And I'm like 6 months pregnant. I'm super pregnant, like
Oh.
pregnant belly, and I'm walking, and I still did it. And she had made a comment like, "Oh, I hope to see you here in like 4 years." Like almost she didn't believe me, which is funny because like 4 years later,
Yeah.
I'm my senior year coming out of an internship from I was like doing a youth program at a school by UIC, and she just happened to be walking with her husband or something for lunch, and it was maybe like couple weeks before graduation, and she was like, "Oh, hey, how are you? How are you doing?" I was like, "I'm about to graduate in 4 years." Like
And I
I
have a
did it on
4-year-old
time,
daughter.
and I have a 4 year old daughter.
But it was, I mean, I think from the way you described the story,
Hmm.
your mom had family to lean on when she was a teen mom to help
Yes.
raise you. You had family members who were supportive of you and your daughter during that
Yes,
time to help you transition and reach some of your goals, which is a
for
key
sure.
component.
Yes, and that's the really big, and I'll give it to my family and her dad's family. If it wasn't for them, if I didn't have my village, I don't think I would have been able to do it because it's really what really helped me through it. My mom had her mom and my dad's parents, and my mom, she of course she was upset because it's like she went through it, she knew what it was, and my mom at the time was like, I'm disappointed, of course, but also it's like it's your senior year. If it was like your junior year or your mid, like your sophomore year, you're already a freshman in college,
Yeah.
like I would still be mad. But she's like, you're just gonna go through so many transitions of like you're graduating, you're going to college, and now to be a mom, like, are you sure? And my mom was very supportive. My mom was always very against abortion too. It was like abortion's
Mhm.
not an option, and she was like, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant. Abortion's not an option. But even at that time, it's funny when you're in the situation when I was like, I never believe in that. But she's like, if that's what you want to do, that's okay. I get
Mhm.
it. Like
Mhm.
this is your life. You know what it is. I've told you my experience. You've lived it with me.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate my mom for like making me feel that comfort. My mom thankfully is very open-minded for the most part. And that was probably the only thing I was really surprised that she was kind of closed-minded about, but then she opened her mind then. But it was funny because my mom threatened me, was like, most people kick out their kids or whatever. She's like, of course, I'm not gonna kick you out. Been there, done that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's like, I will kick you out if you drop out of school. She's like, you have options. So if you drop, so that was my other push that I'm like, oh my God, I don't want my mom to kick me out.
That
But
is
she helped me a
amazing.
lot, and his luckily my daughter's grandparents from her dad's side, they were awesome too. They helped me a whole bunch too. So if it wasn't for my family and his family, like it's that's what kind of helped me. That she didn't I didn't think I sent her to daycare until she turned 1. So I kind of worked my schedule around busting my butt to go to class all day
Uh-huh.
on like two
Uh-huh.
two days if possible out of the
Sure.
week. So I would be able to be with my child, but it was tough. It was tough. I remember being at 3 a.m. in the morning studying, but also trying to breastfeed and up with a kid, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
I can't even imagine. And you have a 13-year-old now. So how do you
Yeah.
have those conversations based on your
Yeah.
own experience? And from what I
It's
hear, you're
tough.
pretty strict. I mean,
Yeah.
your daughter doesn't even have a phone. Is that
Yes,
true?
yes. That is true. I'm surprised of how long we've been able to last. Like me and her dad, we're always big on like not traditional, but we enjoyed being the last like this generation of kids that was like we had some internet but also didn't, like we still played outside. We're
Mhm.
very back to the competitiveness. Our child's very competitive because we're both very competitive. We grew up doing sports, and we wanted her, we just saw the tablet kids, and she has a tablet and stuff, and we were big on like we want her to be outside and play, we want her to do
Uh-huh.
sports, we want her to be active. But I think it's also just at first it's like, oh, I don't think she's ready, and then being in this field we hear it all, we hear
Yeah.
all the greats, and we all hear the lowest of the lows and the scary
Mhm.
things, and
Mhm.
I think that has a lot to do with my strictness, which I try not to let it, but it's hard if I'm out. But yeah, she doesn't have a phone. We were considering this year, but we're more than likely we're probably gonna get it this year, but we just felt like it wasn't she wasn't there yet to really understand like to how to navigate it. She does have an iPad. So we started with an iPad that has like the internet. It's basically a phone. Like
Sure.
she has,
Sure.
for the most part, all her friends and stuff have iPhones, or at least
Yeah.
I like, what is it, Facebook Messenger now?
Oh,
So she
okay.
has
Yeah.
that option. So it's kind of like a phone, but she wants, she's like, I'm not gonna have my iPad, mom.
Oh, well,
But
even
yeah,
we were
she's
driving home
still,
from the tournament yesterday. I was like, "Hey, Emma, can you text PJ and ask your
yeah,
mom to send me a picture?" She goes, "Mom, she doesn't have a phone." I was like, "Gosh, I love that woman. She
yeah.
is just a rock star to enforce those
This year
rules."
I am pretty much like, okay, I need her to have a phone because they're like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like if she's at practice, it's harder to kind of get in
Hmm.
contact. But me and her dad, thankfully, we kind of agree with those parts. Where like she really, I feel like my mom because I hit it. My mom did the same thing. But at that time, the phones were like just kind of becoming a thing.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't get a phone until I think I graduated eighth grade as well. And I used to hate when my mom would be like, um, you're always going to be with someone that has a phone. The school has a phone. This has a phone. And I find myself doing that now that I'm like, girl, like you're at practice. Everyone's got a phone. Ask this person for a phone. They'll
Yeah.
have a phone. They don't have payphone somewhere, but at least someone will have a phone there.
She's resourceful. She'll figure it
So
out.
we've made it work so far. So, but this might be the year. This might be the year that we get her
Okay.
one. But
Oh
it's
my
just more of the
gosh.
fear of like all the cyberbullying, a lot of and a lot of like my clients that I do see that are
Yeah.
kids, and that's really what it is. It's a lot of like the bullying over social media or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
over text or
Mm-hmm.
this and that. So that's really been why we've kind of weren't ready for her to have it, and just to have her focus on school and sports. And it's like
Yeah.
it's worked so far. So well, we'll see.
Kudos to you.
Thank
That is
you.
huge. Um, and you have an amazing partner who is also one of the
Yes.
softball coaches of our girls'
Yes,
team.
Jerry
And
is amazing.
we call him Jer Bear because he's like a big
Yep.
teddy bear that you just want to hug. And how amazing for your daughter to have another strong presence
Yes,
in life.
it's been really great. Jerry kind of came into our lives when Priscilla was about 4 years old, so he's been helping me raise her for the last, we're about to be together for 9 years. So it's been really great just because me and her dad are separated, and luckily we're at a better point now where we're co-parenting because that's a whole nother beast in itself. But we're at a good point. We thankfully parenting wise, we agree. It's just we were kids. We were kids. I was young and he was young, and we were
Hmm.
at different points of our life. And so his schedule's very demanding where he does work street construction. So he doesn't really get to like have like a set schedule. So he kind of gets it every other weekend, and it may change depending. So it's been really great to have Jerry here to be like a second father figure and be able to be the coach and do all of those things.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
it's been really, really awesome. And we were so grateful for him because
Well,
I
and I
wouldn't
just
be able to do all the softball and work, and because nine
all
to
of it.
five
It's a
doesn't
lot. Yeah.
doesn't work with that. So we
Right,
make
right,
it
right.
work.
Well, and I joke because he's a Cubs fan and you're a Sox fan. You're
Oh yeah,
you're
we're a
you're a
divided
true
house.
hard South
I
Side.
don't really watch it, but I'm true hard socks at Southside. Like you said, I like it because it's Southside. Priscilla's probably the one that will give him more stuff about it. Of like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, like no, we're not Cubs, right?
Well, let's transition into South Side,
Yes.
and the work that you're doing and what's going on in Chicago. And I want to drop this episode immediately because everybody is feeling the angst. And here I'm a privileged white woman saying we're feeling the angst, and it's like it just being in this community,
Yeah.
and hearing what's going on in the predominantly Latino communities, and people are afraid to leave their homes, and we have,
Yeah.
friends and extended family members who are feeling that. And I just want to hear from your perspective, getting up and close and personal with your patients who, you were saying they're not coming into the office because they're
Hmm.
afraid. They don't even want to do Zoom because it's too heavy, so
Yeah.
and you're bilingual in English and Spanish, so
Yes,
you
I
treat
am.
predominantly Spanish speaking
Yeah,
patients, correct?
majority of my patients are more Spanish speaking, and I want to say I forget what the percentage is, but a big portion of my caseload is undocumented or folk or migrant folk that just came in this like last wave from like I'm working more on like the north side Belmont Cragen area. So it's my first time working the north side. So that's like different as well. But it's been interesting because it's a lot of like Central America as well. But we
Hmm.
also do have a lot of like folk from Mexico as well. So it's a good like division. It's interesting to hear the different sides of it, even when doing this work and
Yeah.
like hearing the difference in like someone that's coming from Mexico and like the journey through that, and then someone
Mhm.
that's coming from like Venezuela or Ecuador or like that have to go through like the jungle and stuff. So that's been very eye-opening for me to see the different stories. But it's scary times. Yeah. Just Friday, it was a Freaky Friday and there was a lot of like rumors that they were going to go to the school and CPS. So thankfully my daughter goes to an amazing school that is very sends a lot of alerts and they're very big on like keeping our family safe and like making sure we know our rights. They just did like a workshop on like going over like your rights and sending alerts of like they just changed their dismissal. So I actually got it from them that they were alert like, hey, ICE is in the area. There's rumors. So they sent out like what the Freaky Friday were because I think there was a lot of rumors going around that ICE was gonna target like the schools and they were gonna go in the schools and like kind of take any of the kids or just from there, but it was more, from my understanding, it was more to kind of target the unaccompanied minor children and try. So that was like a lot of that was kind of happening in like the Humboldt Park, north side area of what was going. There was a lot of ICE presence in like where I was working at. So I started getting a bunch of cancellations, and I had a patient call me at 7 in the morning before I even started work and was like, "Hey, I'm not going. Like, there's so much going on," and I'm like, totally get it. So when this started, kind of a lot of the stuff and the deportations and ICE like presence started happening a little bit more in Chicago. Thankfully, the organization I work for is really great about like, hey, if you got to do it to telehealth, do it to telehealth, and we have that option, thankfully. So
Mhm.
I've been letting my patients know of like, hey, if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to tell me your status, but if you don't feel comfortable
Mhm.
coming in for any reason, or you'd rather switch it to telehealth, we could switch to telehealth. And
Mhm.
no questions asked, that is okay with me. So just letting them know and also helping them navigate because as you know, any big organization, phone lines are always a thing, and
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
working on that. So I usually always give them my direct line. I was like, here, if I don't answer, leave me a voicemail and I will like try to get you as soon as possible or send me a message to the portal
Mhm.
and let me know. Like even if for your doctor, if you need help, I assist them with them. Like I'll let them know if it's something you could do telehealth, we'll switch it.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I got Friday. It was like a lot of cancellations. Some of them did call and some of them just either canceled or no show. And I feel like it was a big fear of that. Like many people are, I get, so part of my role, I'm a behavioral health consultant at a primary care clinic. So we tend to get handoffs from the doctor. So it's very integrated care
Mhm.
model. So if like any type of like mental health, emotional health, behavioral health, if the patient is kind of dealing with that, the doctor is able to hand them off to me and I could see them right there same day, which is really nice.
That's amazing.
So a lot of like these new patients I've been seeing has been more for like a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety,
Mhm.
of surrounded around the fear of like ICE presence or being deported or like kind of that's a lot of what I've seen
Mhm.
where patients that I probably started seeing when I first started working there kind of come back and they're like, I can't sleep. I feel bad for my kids. I think one thing that really stood out that I don't think we really think much about is like this one mom came and was like, I have a lot of anxiety and I'm kind of managing it, but it's more my son. He wants to go to the park. He wants to do this. And I can't like I'm too scared to go out.
Oh
So
my
kind
gosh.
of what I did with her was like I like think a lot of my approach to it is really giving them a space to feel comfortable and validate their feelings. And also one thing I'm really big on doing is like, hey, do you understand your rights? And
Mhm.
I do really big. I print it all out for them. I Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights has a lot of amazing resources, and that's kind of what I've been doing. They have a really cool handout that kind of goes over all the organizations in Chicago that provide immigrant services, legal services, mental health services. They
Mhm.
kind of list like different stuff. They list your rights, like what rights you have as an as being undocumented. They have like a printout of what a warrant looks like and what like fake warrant or the ones that they're kind of trying to get away with looks like.
Mhm.
So I send
Mhm.
them home with that. I give them a little wallet printout card. I was like, put this in your wallet, and then like put making sure they have the number because there's like I think there's a legal aid number that they have that they could call in case they are detained, and it kind of says like I wish to remain silent,
Okay.
and they are able to provide that over. So that's kind of a lot of what I've been doing, but for this one really kind of stood out to me. It was like, you don't even think of that. Like you think of like, okay, stay home, but it's like they have kids. They have kids. Like, what do you do with what are you doing at home?
Oh,
It was kind
absolutely.
so I just kind of got creative and was like, hey, like I think they were like toddler age and it was like, let's come up with like some cool sensory stuff that we could do. I was like, Pinterest is gonna be your best friend. Let's find some stuff and like stuff that we could do in the house or a lot of imaginary play, you know, like
Mhm.
let's play like museum or something. Like Night at the Museum was something that I did a lot when I was interning at a school that I learned that game of like you pretend you're in a museum and you don't want to get caught by the security guard, so you gotta like freeze, and it's almost like a different version of freeze dance or something.
Mm.
But just kind of exploring different ways of like, okay, what can we do at home that distracts your child in a sense, but also makes you feel comfortable. But also letting them know to make sure you know your rights, but have a plan and a plan set. So in case
Mhm.
you are detained, like you have someone that's able to kind of care for your kids. There's
Right.
a power of attorney, like the temporary custodial documents. So it's just kind of making sure that they're educated with that, or at least sending them, referring them to the right place where the free legal aid that's able to kind of help get that in order to make sure that at least that's in order
Yeah.
for if needed.
I mean, I have a special heart, a special place in my heart for social workers. Obviously, we're a
We're
different
pretty
breed.
amazing.
But it's like you're not just doing behavioral therapy, you're doing case
Yeah, I
management, you're
do.
doing family
Hmm.
linkage to services, you're empowering them to know their rights and to use their voice. And, it's
And
people I've
that's
had
something
on the
I love.
podcast are like, I can't
Yeah.
believe we're talking like some of these issues that we're talking about that
Yes.
we're talking about.
And
It's so
that's what
ass
kind of
backwards.
led me to why I like my position. So I when I right out of grad school, I was a psychotherapist and I loved it. We did a kind of a little bit of everything too. I was at a trauma level one hospital. So that was in itself. I graduated during the pandemic. That was in itself its own whirlwind of like everyone's trying to figure out what they're doing. I'm
Right,
fresh out of
right.
school. This
Mhm,
isn't normal, you know?
mhm.
But I think a lot of what I fell into was like what do you mean like we don't have a case manager? We had a case manager, but I think at that time it was more for like prior authorizations for like our psychiatrist. So
Mhm.
it's like, okay, but my patient needs housing resources, they need this or they need that. So a lot of times I'm like, of course you're not going to want to do these coping skills right now because you're trying to figure out where you're going to sleep tonight.
Right, right.
Definitely those hierarchy of
Mhm,
needs comes into
mhm,
play then. So it's
mhm.
like that's the one thing I really do love about social work. And the work I do right now is that I'm able to provide all of that. It's not the traditional therapy, but it's like, hey, it's very like, what do you need in this moment?
Mhm,
What can I help you with? Is
mhm,
it housing? Okay, let me help get you connected to that. Are you anxious? Here are some coping skills.
mhm.
Let's talk through it a little bit.
Solution focused. I mean, you are like
Very solution
grassroots social
focused.
worker, solution
Yes.
focused. And the last question I have about this, because this is a concern in our field for anybody
Hmm.
who works in nonprofit organizations, like, are you fearful of any kind of funding or services being
For sure. So
eliminated?
one that we actually recently were informed is I think Friday we got a or Thursday, like after work, we got an email saying that all of our Medicare patients, because of the government shutdown that's currently happening,
Uh-huh.
um, I guess for Medicare, they're not allowing telehealth services. So that was like in the midst of ICE and deportations. It's like,
Oh my
but
God.
what do you mean we can't do like telehealth services, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of was like a scary thing right now of like, okay, we just told all these patients to tell us if they need telehealth. And then now
Hmm.
we're telling them, actually, just kidding. For Medicare, until the government opens up, we can't do that. So I'm not sure if that's like a full thing
Okay.
all around,
Okay.
or if that's just something that my organization is doing. I think it is maybe just the more Medicare
Hmm.
for medical services. So thankfully for behavior health, I'm
Okay.
still able to provide telehealth for my
Uh-huh.
Medicare patients, but for medical services, they have to come in. Telehealth is not an option right now. But also just with like funding, it is a little scary because like I said, a lot of our my organization has a lot of financial assistance, and like
Hmm.
that's where it's scary. It's like, hey, if we don't have this, like predominantly, I want to say a good probably like 80% of our or
Huge.
more
A
of
lot.
our
Yeah.
population is Medicaid or Medicare. So it's like if
Mhm.
those cuts are made, like where are they going to get their services, right? And
Mhm.
then like some of them have already been cut where it's like, okay, well, we don't know where to send them. I think we so like it's sent to Cook County, but we're all in the north side. That's not very feasible
Right.
because then we're dealing with transportation and we're dealing with long wait lists and like
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
own
The wait
kind of
list. Total.
referral thing
Mhm.
is kind of a
Mhm.
headache too. And like any referral system, right?
Yeah,
Insurance
right, right.
referrals, it's always like long wait lists and trying to
Mhm.
get to navigate that is a whole nother beast in itself. So it is scary and it is scary. I think when this first started happening, I kind of told my boss, is like, should I be worried? Like is our job okay? Like are we good? Should I start looking for another thing?
Right.
And
Mhm.
and so that's scary. And I think I was at a point and I had already told like my bosses too. I was like, okay, I'm kind of ready for something new. But now it's like, oh, well, maybe I should wait because I don't want to be the
Right.
last one in. Who knows
Who
if
knows? Who knows
exactly.
what's
And
gonna
that's also
happen
been
next?
something for like even like a lot of my patients that are like jobs right now. Like everyone's looking for a
Mhm.
job and it's like, hey, we made more new jobs, but it's like, and there's all these jobs open, but they're like, I've applied for like 30 jobs and I'm not
Right.
getting
Right.
callbacks. So
I'm
it's
hearing that too.
that's interesting. That's something I've been seeing too as a pattern
Mhm.
as well. And I'm like all around from different like socio income levels and
Yeah, right.
socioeconomical
Right.
like levels and like it's for all around. Like
Mhm.
even those with an education or college degree
Mhm.
are struggling,
Mhm.
and those that just have high school or
Right.
less are struggling. So it's like all around. It's very interesting to see that that's kind of been a pattern as well.
Yeah, it's a common thread throughout populations, but it's
For
also a
sure.
testament to how broken all the systems are right now.
Yeah, and even
Uh,
just hearing from my friends, I have a lot of friends that work in like the social services system as well, and I have a friend that works a lot with the undocumented
Mhm.
unaccompanied minors, and she's constantly like I think since the beginning of the year of like, okay, am I gonna get an email that like I don't have a job? So
Right.
it's very interesting to even just hear other people from my circle as well, like
Mhm.
their fear and our fear. And I'm like, at first I wasn't scared. It's like, oh, okay, we'll be okay. But now it's like, okay, Medicaid might get cut,
Right.
Medicare might get cut. Like, how is that going to look like? And
Mhm.
even just even right now with like ICE and deportation as a mental health professional, it's like what I understand my own privilege as well as being a citizen and
Mhm.
thankfully m my majority of my family are citizens as well and so I understand my privilege of like sitting with that, sitting with my patients of like not having those words. Like, what do we tell them, you know? So it's
Right.
that's why it's like really just trying to provide that space to be like, this sucks. It does. I understand it. And stuff is changing every day. So a lot of what I've done with my patients is really just trying to focus on the now, focus on the present and what you can control, right? I
Mhm.
was like, I was like, this is always, you know, as being undocumented, you've always had some sense of fear, right?
Sure.
Just
Mhm.
unfortunately, right now, it's ICE is more
Heightened.
present, it's
Right.
more in our
Right.
face, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, so what can we control right now? Let's make sure we know our rights. Let's make sure we have a plan in order.
Mhm.
And what are some coping skills that we could do to kind of help you in the moment? Because if we're
Mhm.
flustered, we're not going to be able to get the stuff and continue to function like we need
Right.
to. So what can we do to at least regulate ourselves in the moment?
Mhm. Oh, that's so helpful. It makes them just hearing you say that is like, ah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
really nice. That's applicable no
And I
matter
think
what
kind of putting
anybody's
it
going
in
through.
that way, I like reframe it of like, hey, this fear has always kind of been there, not minimizing
Yeah,
the fear
for
because there
sure.
is, it's real,
Mhm.
it's there, it's anywhere we look, it's constant on the news. Our friends are talking about it, and it's a lot of like in our own circle, like, hey, and the like, not so much the false reports, but it's like, okay, ICE was present here, or ICE was there, or ICE was there. That's why it's really important. And I know um the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and refugee rights, they I think they use like salute where it's like where they kind of break down of like how you should report it, right? So making sure like you specifics, what are the
Uh-huh.
specifics? Like
Okay,
do
so it's
they
an
taking
acronym.
pictures?
Uh-huh.
So it's like an acronym. I can't
Uh-huh.
think of it right now. I'm gonna have to send it to you, but it's
Yeah.
like making sure you know the specific location, the specific time. If you
Mhm.
could take pictures, take pictures. Like so that's really important. So we're able to be like, hey, ICE was present. What is like, was it the morning? Was it the night? Should I be worried? Is it am I able to go at this
Right.
time? So
Okay.
just really if you are going to report that or post that out into social media, making sure you're trying to be as specific as you can to kind
Mhm.
of minimize a little bit of that fear of like, okay, is this area okay to kind of go out in, or should I be
Sure.
fearing at this time? But yeah, it's just hard times right now.
It is, and I see a lot of those posts and like warnings of like, oh, we saw, ice trucks in this parking lot,
Mm-hmm.
and in community alerts and things on Facebook. But I also wonder, from your perspective,
Mm-hmm.
how can people who are sitting in privilege help? Like, other than warning people, like, don't go there because you might
Yeah.
get deported. I'm wondering if there are foods, there has to be. I mean, obviously, in every community, there's either, churches that are donating food or clothing or safe
Yeah.
spaces even for
Yeah.
people to go. And the
I
good
know
news
some
is we do have the internet that can help navigate.
Yeah, so I know that's something that I've seen other people do is like even offering to give like their kids rides. Like, hey, if you kid
Hmm.
needs a ride and like carpool, kind of like a different type of carpool would be,
Yeah.
I think that's really an awesome way that you could kind of do of like it's some of my patients weren't sending their kids to school because of that fear of like these kids are now missing school because the fear of going out. And so I think that's been like a really big thing to be able to offer. Like if you know,
Mhm.
or just send it out there. You don't have to ask like, hey, if anyone needs a ride.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think the Illinois Coalition has a lot of great stuff that you could also report it there, making sure you execute like your rights to
Yeah.
vote when it's time and making sure
Mhm.
you do your research, and educating that. But it's like I think it's just really being able to, if you s- educating also the people of knowing like their rights as well and be like, hey, there are, because there's so many people that don't understand that they have rights,
Right,
you know?
right. And
And
especially if there's a language barrier.
yeah, but I think it's definitely speak up, speak up. You're able to speak up and if you I know different everyone has different levels and comforts of like advocating, but like
Mhm.
share that post, right? Share that post
Yeah,
on social media,
yeah,
call
yeah.
your senator,
Mhm.
make the noise, right? If
Yeah.
you see that ICE is screaming out, ICE is
Yeah.
around. I know they're using a lot of whistles, so that's been a very big thing in the
Ah,
community.
yes.
If you see ICE, they're using whistles, and that's been
Uh-huh.
kind of like the alert that has been happening. At least I know a lot on the south side. I know of other sides. Sorry, my dog's going a little
Oh,
crazy
I
and
don't
has
hear
this
anything.
zoomies.
No, Zoom is upgraded. You doesn't pick up any background noise.
Okay. But yeah, just kind of being that voice and if you're able to and you feel
Mhm.
comfortable and you see something, say something,
Yeah.
right? Report it.
Yeah. Gosh, Gabby, you practice what you preach, and your perseverance and resilience shines through from who you are as a mom and a partner and a daughter, and the work that you do with your clients. I'm so grateful that we had the connection that we did, and that, we have a whole nother
Yes.
season to get
I
to know
know,
each
I know.
other
We
more.
now we know, now we know.
Yeah, and that's the call to action for people. I'll put all of the resources you mentioned in the show notes for people, but I think, oftentimes we get so used to our day-to-day grind, that
Yeah.
sometimes if we just sit for a few minutes and ask somebody a question, we have a lot more in common than we would ever
Oh, for sure. And that just even shows with us where it's like we were just having a simple conversation and we realized we had way more in common than we thought. And we're in the same field.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. I really
Thank
appreciate you.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This was awesome.
Of course.
Definitely took me out of my comfort zone, but I love it. I love it.
Yes, I love it.